Okay. Uh, and we are live. Good day, everybody from around the world. My name is Tony Young. I'm a principal solutions architect here at EventStore, and I'm very happy to introduce to you Andre Zielinski, the Director of Technology for Steer. Andre, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Happy to be here. Thank you for the invite and good morning to everyone.
So, Andre, before we get started, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How you came to Steer, and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ukrainian. My hometown is Lviv. So I graduated from the university there, then took started my IT career, worked for the outsourcing agencies for a while, went past from the developer to senior solution architect and department lead. After that, I tried myself in the role of CTO for an outsourcing company in Ukraine. And when I met the CEO of Mechanic Advisor, we kind of like had the mutual vision of building a product together. And there was a product at that time, and like I was involved in that product, helping to solve current issues that the platform had. And this is how our cooperation started, and then it evolved into something bigger that we currently call Steer, and that I'm proud to present today during this webinar.
Awesome. That's quite the career you've had so far. So maybe you could just start off and tell us just a little bit about the Steer CRM platform. Give us a little intro.
Sure. Like as I said, so we are the company called Mechanic Advisor, and Steer is our product that I'm proud to present today. What Steer does is essentially it brings a new level of marketing and CRM services to the area of auto repair industry. So we help shops to better communicate with their customers, increase their revenue, help them to drive their business, acquire more customers, and obviously drive existing customers back to the repair shops, make them happier, more satisfied. Obviously, we would love probably to live in the world when our cars are super reliable, as at least as they were in the past, like a decade ago. But the reality is different, so we need those repairs, and we as people are expecting good services. So we as a company are trying to do all we can to help shops to provide the best service possible to their customers. So if you can switch to the next slide, we can talk about some unique values that Steer gives to our customers, and switch to how do we benefit from using the EventStoreDB as part of our platforms. So as I mentioned, we pride ourselves of delivering like world-class services that help repair shops to grow their business, keep their customers happy, and bring them back to the future services. As part of that, Steer offers advanced scheduling services that are convenient for both repair shops and their customers. So we have a number of ways that help you as a consumer to conveniently schedule an appointment in the shop, have a good feedback, and be a happy customer afterwards. So then our essential marketing tools enable the auto repair shops to efficiently reach out to their customer base, but not to the entirety of their customer base, right? But because you won't have a target audience for your marketing campaigns. So we help shops to find the correct audience, which in turn increases like the shop revenue and encourages repeat visits of the customer to that shop. So in addition to that, our platform includes a dedicated reputation management module that allows shops to monitor reputation trends, respond to the review, manage their online presence effectively, and essentially ensures that they keep track on what is happening in the area of their reputations and their presence in that area as a trustworthy repair shop, right? So in order to do that, Steer has a number of seamless integrations with the different shop management systems, because it's important to understand that we can't do day-to-day routine that shops do. So we don't like order parts, we don't manage their inventory, we don't create invoices, assign employees to do work, right? But we rely on that data to operate. So we can't work without the data, and this is why we need to be seamlessly integrated into the platforms they use to do their day-to-day routine. So we created a number of integrations that are essentially bidirectional and allow us to pull the data from shop management systems to get the data we need to work, but also like push the data from Steer to shop management system so they get essential information that they need. For example, if someone booked appointments via one of our mechanisms, we allow shop to receive that information immediately, right? So Steer would push that information to the shop management systems, and employees and everyone who is concerned will be informed about that. On top of that, Steer does a lot of reporting and has a lot of reporting tools that help shops stay on top of their business, right? So our marketing toolkit is, as I mentioned previously, it is customer centric. So we try to ensure that shops engage customers without being intrusive, right? And then that we're sending effective communication reminders or recommendations to bring customers back and not to annoy them. And we have implemented a lot and invested a lot of efforts to make sure this is true, right? And we are indeed helping shops and not annoying their customers. So we want to send our marketing campaigns at the right time to the right audience.
Right. And I imagine, that sort of the cyclical nature and the real-time nature lends itself quite well to events. Is that a fair statement?
Exactly, Tom. Exactly. So if you maybe can switch to the next slide, and let's probably talk why Event Store was chosen as a solution for us, and probably the most interesting part, how we build architecture around the EventStoreDB and how we're using it. So, as I mentioned, when I joined the Mechanic Advisor, my task was to scale the existing platform. So, after successfully completing this task and allowing the business to scale rapidly, we quickly realized that the platform that we have is evolving to something more, to something different, and has a potential to become a best-in-class CRM and marketing platform. So this realization led us to a decision of rebuilding the platform completely, and this is how Steer was born, actually. So we had Mechanic Advisor as the platform, and then we decided to build the Steer. Uh, when the decision was made, I carefully considered technologies for the new architecture, carefully analyzing all functional and non-functional requirements we had, making sure that we don't repeat mistakes that were made in the past, that we had issues with in the legacy platform. And one of the challenges was to design the system that wouldn't require guessing out data needs for the next 5 to 10 years. Additionally, I wanted an audit trail for all system activities and changes to ensure that we're compliant and accountable before our customers. And that kind of like pointed a direction to look for a technology. And also by that time, I've been actively following modern architecture trends. I was already convinced about the benefits of event sourcing. However, I didn't want to build everything from scratch, like creating an event sourcing tool on top of the relational database. At that time, that was already possible, and even more, there were like toolkits and frameworks that could help us to do that. But I didn't want to risk of building something like that in house, and especially I knew that it would require a lot of tailoring, customization, and in-house development. So that was really not an option for us. So we decided to go with the Event Store DB because it was already present on the market at that time. I've been following the especially like Greg's speeches on different conferences and stuff. So that's I had a lot of information about it. So after some investigation, the decision was made to uh, go with the event store. And after like 3 to 4 months of extensive work of the core team, we had a working prototype that was verified, proved to be worthy, and we kind of like kicked off the development of Steer.
Sounds great. And so, I love hearing that you were kind of just a few months from idea out to something working. What was kind of the experience like there? Did you uh, have anything that you noticed you were surprised about? Did you need to seek any help or resources or anything like that, or was it pretty much smooth sailing?
It was smooth sailing. As I mentioned, we had a few resources to get information from. There was decent amount of the documentation. So at that time, you guys didn't have the cloud service and the ability to host the event store in cloud. So we had to start the hard way. We hosted event store ourselves. We had to manage the entire cluster. That was probably the main challenge, right? Getting the someone with the good DevOps experience supporting the platform and tool that is so important to the entire architecture is hard, and like this has to be reliable, right? But yeah, we managed to do it, and then as soon as we realized that there is a cloud solution available, so we pointed our efforts towards like migrating to the cloud and benefiting from managed service as opposed to managing the tool on our own. So that's kind of like
Gotcha.
the story. Yeah. Uh, Let me probably tell you about the architecture of the steer and how we use the event store DB, because that's probably more interesting to the audience than
Yeah,
listening for
please.
for the long time about the requirements and the challenges we have. So Steer is essentially a distributed platform that is composed of multiple microservices. Each of the microservices is responsible for its own area. We call it domain, and most of the our backend is written on .NET. So we have a front-end facing single-page React application that talks to our API. So what happens is when someone talks to our API, like our front end or the third-party vendors, the API handles the HTTP requests, which are later converted by our services into commands, and these commands are transformed into the form of events and pushed to the event store. So later, event store categorizes these events and distributes them to the relevant microservices using the categorization functionality and the persistent subscriptions. So for those of you guys who are not aware of what persistent subscription is, you can think of it as built into the event store service Hello,
Oh, I think we lost you for a short time there, Andre. Are you
I'm
back?
here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You started to say, for those of you who don't know what is a
Ah,
persistent subscription.
okay, okay. Sorry.
No,
So
good.
for those of you guys who don't know what persistent subscription is, you can think about it as essentially a service bus embedded into the event store, baked in and then ready for you to use, that can deliver your events to whatever services are uh, interested in handling them, right? So when services receive events, they process them, transforming them into the JSON objects and storing them into the Mongo. In other words, what is happening, we are creating our read models in Mongo databases that are dedicated and connected to their microservices. So for those of you who are familiar with the CQRS, we're essentially having our commands separated from our queries. Our queries are running on top of our Mongo storages, which are essentially like a read models tailored for the needs of those specific microservices. And then commands are persisting the data in form of events into the event store. So quick example, right? So let's think about like customer creation event. So when we create a customer in Steer, customer created event is triggered and it is distributed across different platform areas and microservices who are interested in that event. For example, we need to create a customer profile. We might want to notify the shop about the new customer, sending a push notification to the owner's phone or technician. We want to validate the information of that customer. So check if the email is valid, if the phone is valid, etc., etc. We can also update our reporting. So I can continue the list, but this probably should give you a good understanding of how the event is processed and how the platform reacts to the event appearing in the event store. So in this context, I like to think of EventStoreDB as kind of a Swiss knife that combines a lot of tools inside it and enables our architecture to be abstracted of it, because there are a lot of moving tools, as I mentioned: categorization, persistent subscription, delivery, storing events. We don't need to care about it at all. We just use the technology, and our development can focus on writing the code in our microservices instead of caring like how to handle the storage or delivery.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those details. I thought maybe we could kind of flip the conversation around on its head a little bit and talk about, we've talked about a bunch of the value of Event Store DB, but if you didn't have Event Store DB, what would that truly mean for your business and for your solution?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's do it this way. Let's start with the few examples I can provide you guys that helped us, that Event Store helped us with, so we can better understand the impact of the technology and what we would have to do if we didn't have it. So as a first example, let's use the recent feature that it's not like recent, we released it probably a year ago, but it's not too long ago. So we had a feature called decline services and maintenance reminders. So the nature of it is when you're essentially visiting a shop for the repair, they usually inspect your vehicle and do some notes like you need wipers changed or your brake pads are worn off, and they recommend you the replacement. So if people decline those, shops usually store them. So they store them in their invoices or shop management system. So what we did is essentially we decided that that's a great driver for the marketing for the shops if shops have this information. So we built a technology to aggregate the information about declined services and recommendation and provide that information for every customer of that shop to the shop. So shop can use that information to build marketing campaign and remind people about their repairs. um, say, hey, Tony, you have your brake pads worn off. Like, why didn't you come in and change them, right? That's probably a great idea if you didn't do that yet, right? So the challenge of this is, in order to build this read model correctly, there are a lot of variables in this equation. You need to know not just the current state of customers' invoices. You need to know the entire history. You need to know when customer visited your shop, what were the client services at time of the visit, what is the average mileage his vehicle does per day, and much more. That if you are storing your data in your platform as a state of now, a state of today, it wouldn't be possible, right, for you to reconstruct and build that read model correctly. But since we had the event store and we had all the history track of our records and how the data changed over time, we were able to reconstruct and build correct read model for every customer with their declined services and recommended services. So kind of like if we didn't have the event store, we would still be able to release that feature, but we would have to start tracking declined services only from the feature release date, which would decrease the value of the feature drastically, right? Everyone wants to have
Right.
a full benefit on the fee of the feature day one. So that's kind of like one thing. And to be honest, we've used to we've used to doing that, and our customers are used for us doing that for them. So now they expect every feature that we release to have that baked in and like support their historical data from the day one. Another good
So
example that I can mention, right, is sorry, go ahead.
so it's that rich history, that full context of everything that's happened with that customer and their interaction with the shop, or the changes to their account, whatever it would be, that kind of enables you to release features and have all that historical data is just there. It's like it's already exists.
Yeah, correct. It's not like it's there for you because you would still have to construct it, you would have to build it, but it's available for you to build it. Like, so you can deal with it, and you have like you need to choose whether you want to do it or not, but you can do it, right? So as you said, there's the history and the change track of the record is very important, especially if we're talking about the like audit trail of every platform change. It is very essential for us if we talk about like customer communication preferences, because like imagine shop reporting us an unhappy customer who got an unwanted marketing message and got upset, right? So what we can do is we can help the shop to understand how did that happen. So why that communication channel was used, who changed the, for example, preferred communication channel from email to text or vice versa, who flipped the phone, because we store everything as event, so we kind of like benefit from that audit trail out of the box. So EventStoreDB can explain us everything that happened, so we don't need to break our heads thinking about who, when, and did what, right? So
Great.
yeah, this is like these are like business needs that we had, and kind of like things that what if we didn't have the event store, we would have to build that audit trail ourselves. If we didn't have the event store, we wouldn't be able to release the feature with the full historical support they want, right? If I'm asked, like, would it be possible to implement the solution we currently have uh, without having the event store DB in place? Probably yes, right? So we would be able to do that, but I would say it's not worth it at all. I would prefer that would mean we would need to spend significant amount of in-house development to reinvent something that smart people already built for us. And I would rather have my team focusing on building something that can provide a competitive advantage to the business and value to our customers than reinventing the wheel, right?
Right. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. Anything else you want to share here before we ask to maybe do a quick little demo? Maybe you can show us all the great work your team's built.
Well, I mean, it would be probably hard to share all the work, but we can take a look at something, and I have picked a small journey to drive you guys through our appointment scheduling process that might help you better understand how the event sourcing in the core of our platform works and how the platform itself operates. So,
All right.
if
Well,
you
do you want
don't
to maybe
mind,
yeah, if you want to maybe hit the present button there, and we'd love to
I'm in
see what you got.
progress. I'm in progress. So give me a second. I'm sharing now, so let me know if you can see the application.
Yeah, we got you.
Awesome, awesome. So this is Steer, right? This is the dashboard that our customers see when they log in. The intent of this dashboard is essentially to provide them information and key metrics about how their business is running. If they have good or bad trends, they can compare their data with the previous year or any custom period that they have that they can select here. So that's a general overview of how the business is doing. So what I would like to show you guys today is, as I mentioned, one of the key flows that we have is appointment scheduling. So I would like to drive you through the process of scheduling appointments via the custom widget that we offer our customers. If they want, they can embed this via a simple script into their web page, so their clients have a convenient way to book the appointments from their website directly to our platform. So this is our staging environment and demo shop I created for today's demo, and I deployed the widget to our test site. So let's try to book an appointment, and then on the example of that appointment, I can show you how the platform operates, how events are created, how we are dealing with aggregates and streams. So let's do an oil change. Let's say I can just choose about I want to drop off or wait for the vehicle. I would schedule the appointment for 16th, and then the application would ask me to enter some information about me and the vehicle I want to service. So let it be like BMW 4 Series. Uh, uh, just need some random phone number to pass the validation. Uh, and I'm requesting the appointment. So I would see all the details of the appointments that I just booked on this screen. And when I go to the application, you would see that I have this little number popping up here. And if I open my scheduler, I would see the appointment that has just been booked from the website. And it was scheduled by someone with name Andriy Zelinsky, but it is currently in request made state. So I requested the appointment, but shop still needs to confirm that appointment, and we have abilities to configure different flows for the shops of how they want their appointments to be transitioned between different states. So we have the appointments. Now it's time to look at the event store. So let's use the stream browser because that's probably the most convenient way for us to check the recent events. And as you see, I have an appointment stream created recently. If I click here, I will see all events that are related to this stream and this appointment aggregate. So at the moment, as we just created an appointment, I have a single event that is called appointment created event. And to make sure this is our appointment, I can open it and I will see all the details that I entered when creating this appointment. So my command, my vehicle, my name, which are combined into the title. But what is interesting here is, as you guys see, I have created a customer and the service object. So the service object is the name we're using for vehicle. So don't ask me why. That's another long story, but all you need to know that the service object is the vehicle, and we will view that vehicle later. So we have all the information about the appointment that has been created. So now let's try to do some actions in the platform itself to see how they are reflected in the event store. So let's say I'm fine with, I've reviewed all the details, I'm fine with that appointment, and I want to accept it. So I can simply click the accept button. You will see that appointment transitions here on the UI from the request made to the book state. And I can already go to the event store and see that I've got a new event here. So after I updated that appointment, I've got a new event saying the appointment status changed. And if I open it, I see that it already has a different structure, way less data than the create appointment event, but it has the status. So we changed the state of our object by actually applying two events. First, event that create appointment, and the second one that changed the status of the appointment from created to booked. So in order for you
Great.
guys to, yeah, go ahead, Tony, you had a question?
No, that's great. So what I'm seeing here, is sort of real time, enabling this kind of real time work, real time bookings being completed on the website, real time uh, confirmation of those appointments. So everybody is kind of working to what's happening right now, not necessarily what comes overnight or within the next hour or what have you.
Correct. Everything is close to real time. And to show you more, I will just use this customer aggregate as an example. So this is, if we open this customer, this is the customer stream that was created as the result of appointment creation, because like appointment can't exist in the platform without the customer. We're making sure that we benefit from storing all the information that user entered while creating the appointment. So we will create a customer and a vehicle for that appointment in the Steer platform. Well, we will create if that customer doesn't exist. If you are a returning customer that is booking a new appointment, the platform will recognize you, and then all the history of your appointments in invoices will be added to the existing customer. So, but if we view this customer, we will see that this is the Andrei Zelinsky, and you see how many events we have here. So that's what platform did by processing the customer, and we have so many events here because platform does a lot of things in the background. So what it happened here, we validated customers' email, phone, and address, set the primary phone, and do other manipulations. So essentially, every event here corresponds for a specific action in the platform. Like this customer phone validated event. As you see, like we've validated the phone and said that the phone is invalid. So if I click here on the customer, I see that, yeah, you see this not valid pointer, meaning that, yeah, this is like you will not be able to contact this customer via this phone. But what's interesting, if I click text, you will see, guys, that I already have a text message here that we attempted to send, like an automated text message that was scheduled but was never sent because the phone was invalid. But this is the message that actually confirms to the customer that his appointment has been approved by the shop. And this is a very good example of another service handling event of approving the appointment. So we had appointment approved by one service, and then we had our notification service subscribe to that event, process that event, and responded by creating this text message. And if we check the event store streams here, we will also be able to see this customer text message history that was created here. And these are events related to the attempt of sending this message. So this should probably give you a good overview of what event sourcing is capable of when you configure it. So to probably end this demo, I can just delete this appointment from my calendar. And when I go back to the event store to our original appointment and try to view it, I will see a new event saying that appointment has been deleted. And as a result, as a response to this event, the platform did number of actions to update read models in services that were interested in handling this event, specifically related to the appointments, notification, etc. So this is how it works. This is how we use Event Store. This is our use case, and this is like the persistent subscription UI, and you can see like the volume of the messages that are being delivered and processed by the event store, showing the true output uh, potential of the tool. Well, that's probably it for my demo, Tony, so you can
Awesome.
switch to
Well,
the,
thanks.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much for sharing it. That's it gives you some great insight into how you can kind of coordinate processes and different aspects of a business, different aspects of your application through using things like subscriptions and event-based systems. So that's all excellent, but I'm sure your business isn't standing still. I mean, what kind of is coming next for Steer? What are you guys working on?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we have a huge plans, and probably as everyone in this business who's building the product. But our main focus probably for the upcoming 2 quarters is improving our customized reporting. So we have a ton of requests from our customers, enterprise and single location customers. So they demand customized, flexible reports. They love the tooling we currently have, but they are essentially asking us to give them like something like Power BI in Steer, right? So that's a challenging task, but that's the challenge we took, and we are currently planning to build our own data warehouse, which essentially ties back to my earlier point about not needing to anticipate future data needs, right? So over the past years, we have collected enormous volume of data in the event store, and now it gives us the freedom to decide how to use that data. So our first step would be to export that data from event store into the warehouse, doing it gradually, then build a powerful BI functionality on top of it, and provide it to our customers via Steer platform. So Steer would be connected to our BI platform and serve those capabilities to our customers. So after that, we would probably focus on AI, machine learning, building chatbots for the auto repair industry, and creating top tier analytics for car repairs. That's probably my dream. But having this ability, Tony, and having you here, I would like to ask you a question. So, what would
Yeah,
be the
sure.
best way for us uh, to export the data from event store to our data warehouse? I was kind of like leaning towards some custom solution that uses the catch-up subscriptions to like I want to make customizable data exports. I don't want to export all the data at once. I want to be able to, for example, get the chunk of our customers' data, pull it to the warehouse, and then maybe we can do something with the vehicles, invoices. So gradually, but like if we need, extend the data. If extending doesn't help, repool the data, but I don't want to do a single large pool.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, you could certainly write something with catch-up subscriptions. That is a way to do it. That we do have a feature coming shortly in our 24.10 release. You can see previews of it in our 24.2 and 24.6 release, but we're releasing our connectors framework as a GA feature in 24.10. So, what connectors is going to allow you to do, for this, I would use something like the HTTP connector, where you'd be able to take events from the all stream or subscribe to a particular stream. You can look for particular event types and things like that using our projections engine. You can apply a filter to it, whatever. You can be super flexible and say, hey, maybe you want only things like the appointment created or appointment deleted events, right? So you can get really fine grained about it. But what you can do is you can actually take that event from Event Store and push it out to an HTTP endpoint. So if you think about something like an AWS Lambda function, Google Cloud Functions, or an Azure function, you could receive that event pushed straight from EventStoreDB in real time, and you could use that to then update your warehouse. So that function could be written as its own small serverless API call, right? So think about, I want to do something just for appointments. Well, you can look for the particular events you're interested in. That serverless function can understand how to process those events, how to update your read models, how to update your warehouse, what have you. And now you've got what is effectively near real-time integration between EventStoreDB and your analytics platform. So somebody can have a look and see, that take Andre canceled his appointment, like a couple of minutes ago, and take action on that. Maybe that's something that you want to be able to allow them to see in real time, and then, hey, phone that customer or email them, hey, what happened? We were all set to go. Is there a better day that works for you? Maybe you can kind of do some recapture, just thinking out loud there. So that's kind of the way that I would get started, is with connectors. Certainly try them out, and tell us what you think. We'd love to get your feedback.
That's really interesting. That's really cool concept, but correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like a replacement for the persistent subscriptions.
Yeah, I think they both kind of have different models, right? So one model around the persistent subscription is really having the server handle checkpointing, and you get things like parked messages and replay and ACK and NAC. Whereas with the connectors, it's really very much just the sync. So pushing that event out to the endpoint, and we kind of assume that, hey, success is good and we move on to the next event, failure is bad, and something's up, so we try again. So slightly different models there depending on the use case. I think both are going to have value, but I think for a case like this, where you really just want to push out into a warehouse and kind of continuously update things, that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, it makes all sense. Thanks for the hint. We'll make sure to test the functionality.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks a lot. All right. Well, I hope we have a little bit of time for some questions, Andre. If you got a few more minutes,
Sure.
I do see a couple have come in here. So the first one is really, how are you handling multi-tenancy with EventStoreDB? Do you have one namespaced event store, an event store per tenant? How do you guys kind of handle that?
We're essentially marking all our events with the tenant. So we have a notion like we have an interface called iTenantifiable that is essentially implemented in most, like all of our events. And we do have a unique identifier of a tenant assigned to each event, uh, because we have multiple infrastructure clusters that can be dedicated to a tenant, or they can share multiple tenants. And in future, we think that we might want to migrate the tenants between the clusters. So we have the flexibility to move events from one event store instance to the other event store instance with keeping all the tenant integrity.
Gotcha. And what do you think of in terms of tooling to do that migration? Would you, um, I, I guess, write some code that would kind of pull across the things you're interested in, or
Well, there is a couple of ways to achieve that. You can correct me if it's a community tool or something you guys developed, but we used and we worked with the tool called Replicator. It is
right?
capable of essentially like getting events from the all stream, applying filter that you want, potentially like transforming the events. If you want to modify the event in the process, then you can apply any modification to the events while it is in the pipeline, and then when it is sent to the another event store instance, it is already like converted. Another option would be definitely write some custom tooling, which I prefer to avoid, right? If there is already a solution that is ready to use, but we could use like the subscriptions, the shop subscription, or even the connectors that you mentioned. But that would probably be less scalable, and yeah, I would stick to the replicator because it worked for us well for some dev tasks in the past.
Yeah, I think Replicator is certainly the way to go there, and we do absolutely make that available out to folks to pull down and use. Really handy for things like this, where you want to do some sort of migration or movement of your events. So yeah, totally, probably the right way to go there. Another question, probably one more that I can take here. Are persistent subscription messages deleted after consumed? Are they automatically scavenged? So this is a great question. We don't delete the events automatically at all. So what we do is we have a checkpoint associated with the persistent subscription. So as your client tool receives an event, it's up to the client to either acknowledge the event or negatively acknowledge the event. So ACK or NACK. And if we don't hear from you within a certain period of time, we assume that event was knacked. So one of the great things about persistent subscriptions is if you don't acknowledge an event, it is set for replay. So we'll resend that event back to your subscribed clients. And if it's not acknowledged a certain number of times, right? So if we replay a certain number of times and we still don't get that acknowledgement, we actually have what we call the parking lot, where we'll park messages for you to go off and pull down at your convenience. So very useful to sort of have the server do some of that tracking and handling for you. In terms of, are things automatically scavenged, the answer is no. At this point in our product release cycle, we don't have any automated scavenging in place. However, that is a feature that we're looking to build and release in short order. So do keep your eyes out for that one, Tom. Super helpful to kind of do that automated workflow as well.
Yeah, and maybe adding a little bit information to that, because we heavily rely on the persistent subscription. One thing you have to be careful with is when you're working with persistent subscriptions, you are like recreating them, you need to be aware that if you drop it and create it again, if you don't specify the starting point, it will get created and it will start the subscription and start replaying your events from the very beginning. So you obviously, with the event sourcing, you need to make sure that your event handlers are idempotent, but still it's better to make sure that you know um, your checkpoints, and when you're recreating a persistent subscription, you recreate it from the correct checkpoints, so it start processing event from the point you lost it for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good points. And that kind of leads into his next question here. Is there any benefit to keeping those messages around with persistent subscriptions? Why not use a standard queue for that? That's a great question. So one of the major benefits of a product like Event Store is the durability of those events. So once they happen, what happens in your business happens, right? So deleting those events means I can't fall back to that history. And as Andre showed us, creating new features on top of that history wouldn't be possible. But also the auditability, you lose that auditability once you lose those events. So deleting them, would actually negatively impact the delivery of features or your ability to kind of audit that out. So certainly value there. I don't know, Andre, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly like consider like publishing your event through some mechanism to the queue and then like distributing it that way. But that would be more like as I mentioned, reinventing the wheel and like making your architecture more complicated, adding a piece to it, versus like you already have a tool that is that you have out of the box that is baked into the product and does what you want to do.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, if there's any other questions, please post them now. Otherwise, we will wish Andre a wonderful day, and thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate you joining me today, Andre. Oh, looks like we got one more question coming under the wire here. So let's see. Aren't persistent subscription events normally events on the outside? Something can be reconstituted anyway by replaying internal events. Uh, that's a really good question. I don't know that it's necessarily one or the other. We've got some customers who have architectures where they have clients that use persistent subscriptions for both purposes, right? So for sharing across different domains, as well as if they have services that need to be coordinated within one single particular domain. So I think what the value that you're kind of stumbling into there, Tom, is the flexibility of the persistent subscription to kind of do either or, right? So you can certainly work with either architecture, whichever fits best for your particular use case. All right, Andre. Well, at this point, I'd like to thank you again for your time. Really great to see what you guys have been able to accomplish. Nicely done, and look forward to hearing about your successes in the future.
Thank you, Tony. It was a pleasure to participate in the event. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the questions, and wish you all the best, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye for now.